Greetings, everybody. It is I, the Nomad, coming to you live from the wastelands of the internet. Coming to you with news. Well, some news, some not news, some just how I see the world for the week. All right. I see that you're in their chat there, Mr. Barkley. Welcome, welcome. Yes, the days are long. As the summer sun is now starting to heat things up here. We are in the middle of what we call monsoon season here in Arizona. Unfortunately, here in the southern part, we are not seeing the kind of monsoons that we would normally like to see at this time. We've had some. Don't get me wrong. We've had a little bit of rain, but not the kind of really heavy downpours on a consistent basis that we normally see at this time. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't catch up, and that doesn't mean that the rest of the world, or especially the rest of the country, isn't seeing plenty of rain. Good morning, TC. All right, welcome. You're welcome to join me if you wish. I'm in chat. I also see you, TM. Nice to see you too. All right. So we are in the doldrums of summer. All right. But there's news. Some news. Let's get started. Oh, goodness me. We're starting off poorly this morning. Oh, goodness me. There we go. Sorry about the blank screen for a little bit. Trump unlikely to enforce tariff threat on U.S. oil. Or on Russian oil, excuse me. President Donald Trump is unlikely to follow through on his threat to place 100% tariffs on countries that buy Russian oil because it would worsen politically damaging inflation pressures, and his similar threat against buyers of Venezuelan oil has had limited success, especially in China. And no, that wasn't a cracking a beer, that was cracking diet soda. Trump said that he would put a 100% secondary tariffs on countries that buy Russian exports unless Moscow agrees to a major peace deal with Ukraine in 50 days. A deadline that would expire in early September. Okay, let's talk about this for a moment. I personally, all right, everyone says, well, this is Moscow, and he's trying to be tough on Moscow. This is what his supporters are saying. And of course, his detractors are saying, "Oh, he's Taco, or he'll just check it out again. He's Taco. He doesn't really mean it." I think that whether he means it or not, all right, that isn't the target, and everybody knows it. Everybody with any kind of common sense, any kind of way of looking at things, all right, knows it. It's easy enough to sit up there and understand his target is the EU. If you want to end the fighting in the Ukraine, you've got to sit up there and take out where those exports of oil are going. And I know people are like, what, to China? They're going to China. No, they're not. They're going to two major areas. The first one, the biggest one, is the EU. The EU runs on Russian gas and oil, especially Germany. Their experimentation, and France is another part of it, their experimentation with green energy has been a total disaster. Their idea that we're going to do green energy and at the same time divest ourselves of nuclear power, like France, has led them to be totally dependent at this point on Russian natural gas and oil to power their countries. Now, they were offered by Trump to say, look, you can buy U.S. natural gas and you can get away from that. But see, the EU does not want to buy gas from the United States. No, they'd rather buy gas and oil from Russia. And yet at the same time, they're trying to play the game of, well, we're NATO and we're standing up to the evil Vlad, the Impaler. We're going to stand up with Vlad and we're going to support Volodymyr Zelensky. Yes, yes, we're supporting democracy. Yes, yeah. Oh yeah, here's the oil. Here's our check. But it's having an effect. The Russians are collapsing. They're going to collapse any minute now. So this is another shot at the EU, is what this is. The second group, right? And China, like, don't get me wrong, China's a part is involved in some of this as well. But the targets of this are the EU and Japan, bringing Japan to heel. Why? Because Japan has been buying Russian oil and gas as well. Now, Japan's reasoning for buying gas from Russia is one, it's right there. They don't have to sail around to try and find it. They don't have to go halfway around the world, which going to the United States would do, or all the way around frickin' India into the Middle East to get it. And they're having problems with the Middle East. Everybody is. So Japan is being told, look, come to terms. Now, supposedly we have a deal with Japan. All right? 15% tariffs back and forth. So the U.S. can't drill for gas on its own land? No. The U.S. can. That's what we're saying. We have the oil. We have the natural gas. We've got massive reserves of natural gas. We're even using it. That's not the issue. The issue is nobody wants to buy our natural oil and natural gas. Why? Because we're the big bad United States. We'd rather sit up there and buy Russian oil and Russian natural gas in the U.S. And yes, there's drudges that are trying to get in the way and for drilling and things like that. Don't get me wrong. There's all sorts of environmental Nazis that are running around trying to do things. They're coming to heel though. All right, so I'm not worried about that aspect. We have plenty. All right, and we can drill for more. We can explore more. But it's just a matter of it's the real problem isn't that. The real problem is the fact that Russian oil and natural gas is easier for these countries that supposedly are our allies, right, to work with. They would rather work with them. They would rather work with the Russians than they would with the United States, regardless of what they say. Oh, Vladimir's dangerous. You got to stop him. You got to do this. What have you done to stop him? Where's the vaunted Luftwaffe? Where's the vaunted Wehrmacht? Oh, that's right. You guys don't have anything. Where are the Canadians in all this? Oh, that's right. Canada's also on that short list. No proof Hamas routinely stole UN aid, Israeli military officials say. For nearly 2 years, Israel has accused Hamas of stealing aid provided by the United Nations and other international organizations. The government has used that to claim that its main rationale for restricting food from entering Gaza, but Israeli military never found proof that Palestinian militant group had systematically stolen aid from the United Nations. In fact, Israeli military officials said that the UN aid delivery system, which Israel derided and undermined, was largely effective in providing food to Gaza's desperate and hungry population. Yeah, as long as it was doled out by Hamas when they sit up there and do this. When you say UN, you might as well say Hamas. Increasing numbers of people are saying, of doctors in the territory say that their patients are dying and suffering from starvation. More than 100 aid agencies and rights groups warned this past week that mass starvation and of mass starvation and implored Israel to lift restrictions on humanitarian assistance. I wouldn't, not in the least. Why would you do this? Why would you lift restrictions? Here you have Natan Odenheimer, right, from Jerusalem. Well, Natan, since you're going to do this, why don't you just sit up there and tell the people if they want to have aid to pick up their kids, pick up the things, all right, walk a mile. Believe it or not, people, you can walk a mile. Walking a mile is not that difficult. Straight to a freaking camp, okay, run by the Israelis, where you'll be fed, and you won't have to starve to death. Oh, but you can't bring your weapons, and you can't then be used as human shields for Hamas. That's all you got to do. Oh, you don't understand it. Don't you understand, no man? How terrible that is. That's relocating them. They're already relocated. What the hell do you think this is? The Gaza was a refugee camp. They were already relocated. Rafah, all right, was considered a refugee camp for 5 decades, but it was considered a refugee camp for 4 decades worth. And this refugee camp, they're moving them out of a refugee camp. Oh no, I thought it was a prison. I thought it was a concentration camp. We've been told that by these same people too, huh? Oh, but don't you understand? I understand that they declared war on Israel, and Israel declared war back. I said, fine, we're at war. Is Hamas? Are the people running around trying to get rid of Hamas? Nope. 30 minutes of walking, and that is a very slow pace. They could be out of this whole situation. 30 minutes of walking. Oh, but you don't understand how dangerous it is. No, I do. But you have that or you starve to death. Which one are you going to walk through? The problem is that you have to separate the population from Hamas, and the population has no intention of separating themselves from Hamas because they support Hamas to the point that they're willing to starve to death. Here's another one. Israel says hundreds of truckloads of aid are waiting to enter Gaza. Why can't the UN bring it in? Why can't they walk out of Gaza? The United Nations and experts say that Palestinians in Gaza are at risk of famine, with reports of increasing numbers of people dying from causes related to malnutrition. And I believe that this is happening. I have no doubt that this is happening. Yet Israel says hundreds of truckloads of aid are waiting at the borders for the UN to distribute in Gaza. On Thursday, the Israeli military took journalists to the Gaza side of the Karim Shalom crossing, where hundreds of boxes of aid were on pallets, filling a huge lot. Israel says it has allowed around 4,500 aid trucks since it lifted a total blockade in May. around 70 truckloads a day, one of the lowest rates in the war. Israel says it lets enough aid and faults the UN agencies for not doing enough to retrieve and get it to those in need. The UN says it's hampered by Israeli military restrictions on its movement because they want to deliver it straight to the Hamas groups so that Hamas can act like, look, we're feeding the people. That's really what it comes down to. Meanwhile, from the Jerusalem Post, Yasser Abu Shabab, claims the Gaza militia captured territory from Hamas now untouched by war. Leader of the Popular Forces, a militia group in Gaza, claimed to have secured several kilometers of land in the Strip and is now governing that space in an opinion article published by the Wall Street Journal on Thursday. Popular Forces reportedly took over land belonging to Terabin Bedouin tribe, of which Shabab is a member. He wrote while asserting that the militia's primary goal is to separate Palestinians who have nothing to do with Hamas from the fire of war. So why aren't people flooding to this area? Why aren't people coming to this? He claimed that those living in the captured territory had access to shelter, food, water, and basic medical supplies without fear of Hamas stealing aid or being caught in a crossfire with the Israeli military. Well, why aren't people fleeing to this? I love this statement he claims. The vast majority of Gazans reject Hamas. They don't want to remain in power after the war ends. But though they hate Hamas, they still fear it. Since protests began earlier this year calling for the group's removal, demonstrators have been killed, tortured, or forced into hiding. Really? They're terrified of Hamas. They're terrified. They're afraid of them. But they don't want to work with the Israelis. Are they afraid of the Israelis more? Which has more hold on them? Which has more hold on the Gazan people? Their fear of Hamas or their fear of Israel? Their fear of Hamas or fear of starvation? Their fear of Hamas, it's not that they fear Hamas. They can claim that they don't want Hamas all they want. Proof's in the pudding. They're willing to starve to death for Hamas. Do you get it now? The Gazans are willing, and quite capable of starving to death to support Hamas and cover for them. If these people are dying of malnutrition, all right, and all the other things that they claim are happening, that there's a famine there, how come Hamas still has food? Just asking questions. Meanwhile, the UK is working with Jordan on a plan to airdrop aid to Gaza, Starmer tells France and Germany. Keir Starmer has confirmed the UK is working with Jordan on plans to airdrop aid into Gaza and evacuate children needing medical assistance. The Prime Minister held emergency talks with his French and German counterparts on Saturday amid mounting global anger at the humanitarian conditions in the enclave where thousands of people are facing famine. Thousands? There's millions of people in there, and only thousands are facing famine. Just asking questions. All right. During a call this morning, Starmer told Emmanuel Macron and Friedrich Merz that it's vital to ensure robust plans are in place to turn an urgently needed ceasefire into a lasting peace. Prime Minister set out how the UK will also be taking forward plans to work with partners such as Jordan to airdrop and evacuate children requiring medical assistance, a Downing Street spokesman said. What's Peterson got to do? Not Jordan Peterson. Um, this is just this is nonsense. Okay, this is nonsense. Okay, so what are we talking about here? We're talking about this. We're talking about this area here. This is the Gaza Strip. Okay, it's not very wide, as you can see. There is all this land out here. All right, that's flat out just nothing but desert that you could set up refugee camps in. Jordan is over here, by the way. We're going to pull this out here. This is where Jordan is, right on the other side of the Gulf of Aqaba. Okay, there. You can see the line here. So they're going to work with Jordan to fly in stuff into here when all they really have to do is set up huge refugee camps, all right? And I mean real camps, with tents and stuff, and say, if you don't want to starve, come here. And they could just walk. This is about a mile wide. This is about 2 miles wide. This is what we're talking about. Now look how densely populated this is. All right, I will agree that this area is densely populated, but there's plenty of people in Khan Yunis. All right, is one of the major areas where and Al Qura, all right, and Rafah, which is considered a refugee camp, by the way, that are heavily Hamas oriented. But the Palestinians don't need to stay there. Right now, if they're worried about starving to death, but you don't understand, no man, you're going to be relocated. They're already claiming that they were relocated. Like I said, Rafah is considered a refugee camp with cement buildings. You want to fix this? I'd be setting up freaking concentration camps. Oh, I'm serious. Setting up concentration camps, not in the sense of World War II concentration camps, but any camp like this would be considered as actually a real concentration camp. Not for work, not starvation, but to put them in so that you could house them while you go through these areas and eliminate every little bit of Hamas. It's the only thing that's going to change these people's minds. Because right now, I think it's obvious they're willing to starve for Hamas. They hate Israel so much. They are so tied to their hatred that they're willing to starve to death for Hamas. And that's the problem. They are holding on to their hate. Every time Israel tries to open up an aid station, they get attacked. Because their hatred to them is more important than food for their children. That's what you're dealing with. That's the cultural mentality that you're dealing with. Truthfully, what the Israelis should be doing is they should be setting up huge freaking camps and going house to house, grabbing everybody and transporting them into these camps and keeping them there. That's what they should be doing. And I'm not a huge Israel supporter. I'm not saying that they're all sweetness and light, because they're not. But it's a war. You want it solved? You're not going to solve this any other way. You're not going to go out there, hand out cookies, and say, okay, it's all good. It's not going to work. Because that's not what the problem is. The problem is a 12th century cultural mentality that these people are addicted to and refuse to change. This is why you're having such a problem in the West as a whole, in the United States, in Europe, everywhere these clowns go, is they continue to hold on to their cultural mental identities. This is why when they just did a recent man on the street thing, they went around asking people, what would you prefer, Sharia law or the U.S. law? And all these people, this is here in the United States, all these people that are U.S. citizens but are Muslims and say, well, I'm a Muslim, so it's Sharia law. Just pointing it out to you, folks. Pointing it out to you. There's a refusal to culturally assimilate. Meanwhile, the removal of Castro and Guevara statues ignites an outcry in Mexico City. From James Wagner. When Fidel Castro first met Che Guevara in Mexico City in 1955, they began planning a guerrilla war that would sweep Cuba and change the course of Latin American history. Mr. Castro became Cuba's communist leader, defying the United States for decades. Mr. Guevara, an Argentine, became a legend to his supporters and enemies alike, even after he was executed in Bolivia in 1967. In 2017, Mexicans commemorated their meaning with statues, linking Mexico to a pivotal moment in the Cold War. But both statues were removed last week by a local Mexican City mayor, setting off political firestorm that has drawn in the country's president and reignited a debate about how to recognize a divisive history. Divisive, they were both murdering psychopaths. I understand that there are people who see Fidel and Che as their revolutionary figures, but governing isn't about choosing which victims to show solidarity to, said Ms. Roya de la Vega, all right, in an interview. This is the mayor of the local mayor. All right, she said the statues improperly installed are the men should not be honored, calling them murderers, which they were, and continued to representing a lot of pain, which they do. The president of Mexico's Claudia, I don't know why Claudia was sticking my Claudia Scheinbaum, and yes, that's her name, right, for those who don't believe me. Claudia Scheinbaum, the leader of Mexico, who leads the leftist Moreno party, denounced the removal this week, calling it a total intolerance and illegal because she supports murdering psychopaths. Should tell you who she is. In 2020, of course, Ms. Scheinbaum, all right, had a plaque commemorating Gustavo Diaz Ordaz, a former Mexican president known as a right-wing authoritarian, removed because it alluded to an era of repression and ignominy in the country's history. There wouldn't be a country of Mexico if it wasn't for Ordaz. There wouldn't be a Mexico if it wasn't for him. That's who these people are. They're lunatics. Syria. Sectarian violence turns Syrian city into a slaughterhouse. The last thing Hatim Radwan heard the fighters say was, "Kill them all! We don't want them identifying us." That's when 5 gunmen clad in desert camouflage uniforms who claimed they were with Syria's Ministry of Defense cocked their AK-47 rifles, shouted, "You pigs!" and sprayed the room with bullets. Radwan, a 70-year-old blacksmith, felt a bullet or a piece of debris, he couldn't tell, graze his upper lip. He fell to the ground as the gunmen continued to fire. Rashad Abdul Salida, a neighbor who hid in his apartment across the street, heard the gunfire. For more than half a minute, they kept shooting, he said. It felt like a very long, long time. The killings at the Rawand family salon were part of a paroxysm, I don't know how to say that word, of sectarian violence that engulfed the Druze majority city of Ceuta last week. The fighting, which involved tank and mortar bombardment, summary executions, and Israeli airstrikes, left some 1,380 dead, displaced more than 120,000 others, and turned what was once a well-appointed city, largely spared the ravages of Syria's 14-year-old civil war, into a slaughterhouse. Now, why was it spared the ravages of the civil war? Because it was, for the most part, under the control of the Syrian government at the time. They're Druze. Oh, nomad, what does that mean? Glad you asked. Druze, like the Alawites, are Shias. The vast majority of Syria, however, is Sunni. The Alawites are the tribe from Bashir Assad. Okay, so these guys were basically loyal to Bashir Assad. Now what you have is basically a religious war between various sects and various tribes within the Arab coalition of Syria. And it's not going to change. And it's sad. The crisis in Ceuta comes on the heels of similar bouts of sectarian bloodshed against minorities in the state-aligned groups, highlights the challenges facing interim President Ahmad al-Sharara, who seized power in December after leading a coalition of rebel groups to topple longtime dictator Bashir Assad. Though he received support from President Trump, who fast-tracked lifting sanctions and reopened the U.S. Embassy in Damascus and dispatched an envoy who was championed by the new government, al-Sharara has so far failed to convince rival factions to centralize under his authority, and his government forces have essentially aligned themselves with the Bedouins. Get it? So basically, the Sunnis are now taking advantage of the situation and taking it out on some of the ravages of you know, what we can do against everybody else. And the fighting continues back and forth as they try to figure out which group of lunatics is going to be in charge. I forgot all about Assad. I assume he's still in Russia. Look, the real problem in this region remains the cultural identity and the cultural rot of a 12th century mentality the people refuse to give up. They married that cultural mentality with modern weaponry. And you can't live like this. And they're proving it. That's what this is proving. You can't take a pre-industrial mentality and apply it here. Welcome.
Well, I nearly said the German word there.
Yes, you did.
Hello. You need to provide a link because I can't find you on the Tube of You.
That's okay. I will share my screen.
I found it.
That's okay. You can do it this way because it's a little bit faster.
Yeah, this is just to share it out.
Oh, is that what you're doing? I appreciate that. But,
yeah.
We are now talking about
what
the
pays for.
No, we're talking about the what was going on in Syria, where the sectarian violence is out of control and people are dying in masses. But how are you doing, FB?
I'm still alive.
Congratulations. Another day above ground.
Might not be for very much longer because I can feel it.
You can feel it.
The gathering is approaching.
The cleansing is coming. Is that what you're saying?
No, the gathering.
You're going to be the one.
I'm being drawn to a city across the ocean to fight for the prize. Apparently, it's a Subaru.
Sure, it's a Subaru? I thought it was a Volvo.
Yeah. I didn't say it was going to be a good price, did I?
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Aussie and so forth in a little bit here. But let's get on to the next story, shall we? Warning to thousands of Americans as more than 300 hospitals at risk of closure. Check if your nearest is in danger. And what you have is a number of risks of hospitals per state that are in danger of closing. All right. Congress, however, passed a bill earlier this month despite Republican rebels fighting back against steep cuts to Medicaid, among other issues. All right. The idea that these hospitals are going to close because of steep cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, all right, are nonsensical.
They were open long before you had any of this Medicare and Medicaid, weren't they?
No, yeah, to a degree, yes. All right, but the real thing is as you're looking at people, just so they can see the map here. The two biggest states are West Virginia and Louisiana are at the most impact. Okay, according to the way that they're looking at this. Okay, a rural hospital labeled at risk needs to meet one or both of two criteria. It needs to be either in the top 10% Medicaid payer mix of rural hospitals across the country, or have experienced 3 consecutive years of negative total margin. In Louisiana, 32 rural hospitals, or a majority of rural hospitals in the state, are serving a high concentration of Medicaid patients. The letter signed by Democrat Senators Edward Markey, Ron Wyden, and a bunch of other people, including Chucky Boy Schumer. All right. The problem with using that as an assessment is that has nothing to do with whether or not that hospital is going to close because of Medicaid cuts.
Yeah, it also sounds to me like the worse things get, the more that criteria shifts
Well,
because
the
if they've got to be in like, or is it the top 10 of it, and situations get worse,
all right.
then without a certain hospital's situation changing, another hospital takes its place.
Well, possibly, but in rural areas, there's not a lot of hospitals. The problem that's what they're trying to say is that if these
A lot of
hospitals
witch
shut
doctors,
down,
though.
if they're saying these hospitals shut down, then they're going to be in trouble. Okay. The problem with this, however, is the Medicare cuts, the Medicaid cuts don't affect the hospitals necessarily. The Medicaid cuts were cuts to people who shouldn't have been on Medicaid.
What we call over here benefit fraud. Fiddlers.
Yes. All right. They cracked down on a lot of that. So the idea that these hospitals are at risk because of the lack of Medicaid, that's nonsensical.
Yeah, I
The other
tell
thing
you the
is when they
truth.
talk about,
Back in the 80s,
go ahead.
back in the 80s and back in the 90s, especially, I remember knowing a few people who were on sickness benefits and invalidity benefits because of work-related back injuries, who also played football or rugby.
Right.
Yeah,
In Alaska and Kentucky, 44% of the rural hospitals with available Medicaid payer mixed data, right, serve high concentration of Medicaid patients. So, if the Medicaid patients are not, if they're still authorized to get Medicaid, it's not going to affect the hospital, is it? Only if they shouldn't have been on Medicaid to start with. And I would venture to say, and I'm going to be real blunt with this, there should be none in Alaska.
why? Oh yeah, because everybody
Co-
there is rich. Is that it? Is that what you're trying to say?
According to the fact that they pay out, the oil companies pay each Alaskan citizen over $2,000 or $3,000 a year because they're a citizen of Alaska. Yeah, I think that they are flush
Where do
with
I sign
money.
up? Where do I sign up?
You've got to be a citizen living in Alaska, all right?
Hmm. Yeah, because that's what I hear about Alaska. You're either rich or you're a polar bear,
Well, don't get me wrong.
and sometimes you're a rich polar bear.
Yeah, the thing is that if you want these hospitals, the state can afford to manage these hospitals on their own. Okay. Now I'm not saying that these people aren't they shouldn't be authorized Medicare or Medicaid because there's situations obviously some of these people are. All right. But the idea that this is going to hurt them, no. And I'm telling you, West Virginia and Louisiana aren't the ones who are going to be the most impacted. The ones going to be the most impacted are California because they just removed all the illegal aliens off of that, which is also why
Yeah, I hear
Texas is
Clark
so
Kent's
high.
pissed off. I hear Clark Kent's pissed off about that.
Yeah, well, Clark Kent can be pissed off whatever the hell he wants. I really don't give a shit. Okay, hey Oz, all right, welcome. All right, this is the problem with this. The people who are in trouble right now, it's going to be here, all right, in California, and they're saying that it's rural hospitals. It's not rural hospitals. The other one is they talk about negative, the people that have a negative, negative payer, right? Well, gee, I wonder why these hospitals have a negative total margin. Wouldn't have anything to do with the lack of COVID money now, would it? Would it?
Probably.
So, in other words, a lot of these hospitals that are closing because they had a negative margin, good. Find out where the money
Yeah.
went. Find out who stole the money and get it from them. Because I guarantee you,
Oh,
the COVID shit, they stole that money.
Oz is in the chat, right?
Yes.
So that means we could expect a visit from Mrs. Roboto.
Perhaps. I did talk to her earlier. It is their child's birthday today.
Is
One,
it?
one of
Ah,
their girls.
ah,
So
right. So she's on riot duty.
for the most part. Are we ready to take the next story?
Yeah, go on.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, I need to put you up here. I apologize. Dink. There you go. Got a fluffy little cat has to be seen by people. New FAA administrator says state of U.S. air traffic control is unacceptable and morale low at the agency. This is according to David Sherpinson from Reuters. Oshkosh, Wisconsin. All right. The new head of the Federal Aviation Administration said on Thursday that the current state of the aging, understaffed U.S. air traffic control system is not acceptable. All right, vowing an aggressive modernization effort. New FAA Administrator Brian Bedford also said morale at the agency is kind of low after the fatal crash in January near Reagan Washington National Airport that killed 67. The issues plaguing the FAA's traffic control network have been years in the making, but a rush of high-profile mishaps and near misses and a catastrophic crash in January between a U.S. Army helicopter and a regional American Airlines spiked public alarm. Congress this month approved a $1.25 billion, all right, to begin a massive overhaul of over 5 years, while the Trump administration wants another $19 billion. All right, now personally, what about the $80 billion that Pete Buttigieg, all right, gave away to DEI programs? How about we recoup some of that first? Because it was supposed to be for this very purpose, to fix the problems. Oh, but DEI was more important. DEI programs and other things were more important to Pete Buttigieg, right? He couldn't fix this. Don't get me wrong, Reagan National Airport, all right, I happen to know a bit about these airports and how close things are there, is way overcrowded. And a lot of that is due to the fact that the best airport that should take the traffic sits just a little bit north, called Baltimore Washington Airport, or BWI, which is now Thurgood Marshall Airport, I think now, right? Because we had the DEI change, and yet nobody wants to go into BWI. Why? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because it doesn't have an easy access to Washington because of the bullshit that they go through. If in Maryland, you get rid of a lot of these ridiculous regulations, and I guarantee you, all right, and I'm talking about the state regulators and some of this other bullshit that goes on, and you won't have this problem. People would fly into BWI if they could just go, I'll go into BWI and quickly take the train into DC where I need to go. And theoretically, they should be able to do that. They can't, of course. Because every time you try a building project somewhere, these jackass environmentalists go out, oh, it's the Chesapeake Bay. Oh, we're going to kill the snail darter. Oh, save the crab. Save the sandy crab. Oh, every single time. A project that should cost $500 million balloons out to be in hundreds of billions, if not dozens of billions, all right? Simply because of the delays and all these other groups that keep coming in there and trying to fix things. We used to be able to build a building like the Eiffel Tower, right, in less than a year. Nowadays,
the Eiffel Towers. The Eiffel Towers is a French copy of Blackpool Tower.
Well, you understand what I mean, all right?
Yeah. I've seen the documentaries about the construction of the Empire State Building, and yes, in the United States industrial heyday, you could throw up buildings faster than anybody.
Can't do it now, and it's not because we can't build that fast. It's because, quite frankly, you got to deal with all the nonsensical regulations that come along with it. All the other people that have got to get their piece of the pie, that got to get their hands greased involved in this. And it's ridiculous. So I don't have, I understand that this guy says, well, we gotta overhaul these things. Can we put in some acceptable networks? Okay, but you had $80 billion to do it. Start firing the people who were in charge of that before you come back and ask me for sending more money. Meanwhile, passengers rattled, 2 crew injured after a Southwest plane descends minutes into a flight. Minutes after takeoff, a Southwest flight leaving Burbank, California, rapidly descended because another aircraft was in the area, injuring 2 flight attendants and frightening passengers, according to officials and those on board. Southwest Airlines Flight 1496 responded to an onboard alert, all right, that another aircraft was in the vicinity while in Los Angeles Air Route Traffic Control airspace. The FAA said the incident occurred at 11 a.m. 2 onboard alerts required
They let the woman drive.
required the flight to climb and descend. All right. The airline said in a statement, another plane involved in the incident and the collision avoidance system alert was a Hawker Hunter Mk-58 single-seater fighter jet, a source familiar with the situation said. The jet is registered to a company, the FAA records show. Passengers said they were shaken by the incident, and one said he
Hold on,
thought the
a
plane was
fighter
going to
jet, did you
crash.
say?
An Mk-58 single fighter jet.
And it's registered to a private company.
Yes.
They're allowed to have a combat aircraft.
Yeah, you can own a combat aircraft in America. Did you know that? If you can afford it, you can own one.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean you're authorized. You're
hold on,
authorized
does
to
that
have the
mean
weapon systems.
if I'm rich enough, I could have an aircraft, a nuclear powered aircraft carrier,
Yes.
or a nuclear powered submarine,
Yes.
and I'd have it decked out so it looks like a giant penguin.
You could. Now, getting the
And
material to run it would be a difficulty.
Hold on, and it fires ICBMs that when they explode, they spell out riddles.
Yeah, there won't be ICBMs.
You know exactly where I'm going with this, don't you?
I do. Right, I did see the show. Okay, but no, you're not going to be able to get the weapon systems.
Get them from Russia.
I'm not saying things, right?
I bet you could.
The FAA records show that the Hawker Hunter is registered to a company in Newark, Delaware. NBC News has emailed the company to confirm that the Hawker Hunter was its aircraft. All right. Nobody was injured. The flight was going to Las Vegas. It landed in Las Vegas from LA. All right, without any kind of incident. All right. The question still comes into, okay, what happened here? Okay. The passengers felt a significant drop for about 2 seconds, which he attributed to turbulence. All right, so apparently they weren't as it makes me wonder if they were as shook up as they claimed that they were, because 2 seconds is not a long time to be worried. Meanwhile, David Murr halts ABC News program for breaking news about the announcement about Trump and the Epstein files.
They lost them!
David Murr took fans by surprise on Thursday, July 24th, when he started off ABC's World News Tonight with breaking news involving Donald Trump and the Jeffrey Epstein files. The 51-year-old host said that the Wall Street Journal is now reporting that Attorney General Pam Bondi and her deputy Todd Blanche, right, told President Trump back in May that his name appears in the Epstein files multiple times. Duh. All right. Murr pointed out that the previous comments Trump said on ABC News anchor Kathleen Saunders just the weeks prior to when the president denied that the Attorney General had told him his name was in the files. Well, first of all, who do you believe? Do you believe the Wall Street Journal I don't. Do I believe that Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Obviously, they are. All right, because everyone was trying to tie it to Trump. All right, they've been doing that for how many decades? Does anybody believe that any of the things in the Epstein files that reference Trump are world shaking? No. See, this is all we're going to try to tar and feather Trump, all right, with innuendo. He's not releasing the Epstein files because his name is all over it. Everything that they've released that's been coming out has been stuff that's been known for how long? And you're going to tell me that with the witch hunts that they've done on him, there's anything new here to see? This is a witch hunt. That's all this is.
What happens when they find the witch?
Well, then Hillary goes to jail, I guess. That's just pointing it out there. Japan, U.S. ministers reached trade agreement in mid-June, said sources. Japan's chief negotiator reached an agreement with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in mid-June on a deal offering massive Japanese investment in the United States in exchange for a reduction in tariffs, sources close to the matter said Saturday. Over the following month, Japan has focused on convincing U.S. President Donald Trump through Lutnick of the advantages of the agreement, with the proposal of expanding imports of U.S. grown rice used as the final bargaining chip. Yes, they had an agreement, but it didn't include things that President Trump wanted, which was open your agricultural import markets. Japan is not rice sufficient, and in fact, right now, Japan is having a crisis because they can't get enough rice into the country. And so the prices have been spiking.
Or as they would call it, lice. And they like it flied.
Boo.
Oh.
All right. The fact is Japan has been, like a lot of countries, taken advantage of the United States largesse. And what countries are upset about is that they're no longer going to be allowed to take advantage of. That's the one country that's really going to be in the shits about this is Canada. Because the Canadians still think that we owe them something. I don't understand where the Canadians get off thinking that the United States owes them squat. But they've got an attitude up there that somehow the United States, all right, owes them something.
Yeah, that's because apparently an American tourist made off with a Canadian chicken.
Whatever.
You owe them a chicken.
We owe them a chicken? We'll deliver it with a frickin' beat anyway. We don't owe them squat. And the Canadians are going to learn the hard way, right? They're going to learn the hard way. You want to sit up there and piss off the United, play your little games? Go out there, be part of the EU. We don't care. We'll treat you like we do the EU. Not a problem.
I see. The next story is about Ilhan Omar going home.
Don't I wish? Don't I wish? Global Charity warns of rising infectious disease threat to Somali children amid aid cuts.
Told you. Ilhan Omar's an infectious disease.
And I wish we could ship her back. I really do. Combined number of cases.
Hasn't she, hold on, before you go on, hasn't she been kicked out of the house?
No, she's.
Oh, she had.
No. And in fact, they're gonna elect one of her compatriots is going to get elected in Minneapolis. All right.
Yes, that's the one who looks like the pirate, that famous Somali pirate, isn't it?
He does look like a Somali pirate. You're right.
He looks like that. specific one, the one that was yeah.
The
Do not look
combined
at him. Look at me. I am the captain now. Him.
the combined number
Only
of
now it's do not
cases
look at him. Look at me. I am the man now.
the combined number of cases of 5 infectious diseases has doubled in Somalia over the past 3 months as aid cuts, all right, have forced hundreds of health clinics to close, with children under 5 the hardest hit, says a global charity. This is from Xinhua News from China.
Well, maybe if they looked after the this is a direct result of foreign aid. I'm sorry, but it is. I mean, apparently we've cut aid to African countries as well, but you keep giving countries foreign aid, they come to depend upon it.
Well,
first of all, it's a help to get them on their feet, and then they end up depending on it, and they don't get off on their own feet.
That's in the best case scenario. The problem is that the aid that we've given them, all right, the vast majority of it was stolen or misappropriated.
Yeah, it's like the aid that the UK and the United States give to India, billions a year. And what are the Indians doing with it? Are they helping the poor people? Are they improving their infrastructure? Like shit, they're fucking sending shit to the moon.
Can't argue. Can't disagree. We are urgently calling for a sustained investment in Somalia's health system, particularly in surveillance, immunization, outbreak response, and increasing access to primary health care service to put an end to disease outbreaks and keep children alive, said Muhammad Hassan, Save the Children's director, all right, for Somalia. You know what? Somalia is right across. Hold on a second. Somalia is right across the pond right there in that small little freaking stretch called the Persian Gulf. You have one of the biggest, richest countries in the world. Go ask them. And you know what? They're Muslim too.
That's what I was going to say. I've got the easiest way to improve that country, and it'll help the kids, and it'll help everybody in that country. Ditch Islam.
You're right. They would be better off, but they're never going to.
You notice if it wasn't for the, I've even heard there was one scholar on this called into this, but he, I think it was a Saudi TV talk show, and he was saying the same thing. And he's apparently a well-known Islamic scholar over there, and he says that the Islamic world doesn't produce anything, and if it wasn't for the West, they'd be stuck back in the 40s technologically.
Well,
they would actually regress.
They wouldn't be stuck in the 40s. They'd be back in the 14th century. Is where they'd be stuck.
Possibly, but I'm on about technologically. They'd regress.
Oh yes, very much so.
Because even the factories they have over there, the machines are made in the West. They don't actually manufacture things there. They put things together from components that are shipped in from the West.
Yep. Okay, on to the next story. Colbert's left-wing late-night show became a therapy session for liberals, says a study. Embattled funnyman. He wasn't funny. Stephen Colbert's late show became a therapy session for the left, and it's no surprise viewers took notice, a new study found. Since 2022...
Wait, or does Colbert there? He looks like the guy who failed to get the job as Clark Kent, isn't he?
It kind of does. All right. Colbert has hosted 176 left-leaning guests and only one Republican, which doesn't mean that it wasn't a left-leaning Republican, on soon-to-be-canceled The Late Show, according to a study by media watchdog, right, Newsbusters, a staggering imbalance that has tracked with his 2025 guest list, right? In just the first 6 months of this year, the show booked 43 leftists, all right, and 0 conservatives, leading all late-night programs in the partisan tilt. The problem with this is the late night comedies in the okay. well, like when it was the Johnny Carson show or the Jay Leno, Late Night with Jay Leno. Okay, that demographic is gone. Okay, and I know people go, "Oh, well, we want the younger demographics. That's what advertisers want." No, they want the people who have the money, which are generally the elderly group. Okay,
Mm,
the middle aged and elderly are the ones that have the money to
that's us.
spend.
That's us.
Okay,
But
the young,
especially you.
the young, yeah, right. That was the young don't have it. Okay, and so the idea that okay, we can hook them early and then we have a person for life.
No, you don't.
That's
Because
not
people's tastes change as you get older.
correct. And what's more is that people will always try something new if they get bored with something.
Yeah, I mean, if people's tastes didn't change as they get older, you'd still be sitting there staring at cave paintings, wouldn't you?
Possibly, very possible. Uh, here's why the
Or
Southwest
some
fight
of the Ty
really.
Volta idea.
Here's why the Southwest fight really had a problem. A married Connecticut couple is facing felony charges after joining the Mile High Club on JetBlue. Okay, so it wasn't necessarily Southwest.
Uh,
All right.
I actually hear that there was a reporter, a male and female reporter from a large metropolitan newspaper that got arrested for joining the Mile High Club, and they weren't even in a plane.
Yeah, possibly. Tristy Riley and Christopher Arnold, 43, were traveling to Sarasota, Florida from JFK International Airport in New York when they allegedly engaged in lewd and lascivious exhibition, according to a probable cause affidavit. A flight attendant told cops that several youths and their mother had witnessed Riley and Arnold performing in sexual activity aboard a JetBlue. When
What's a
Brian
JetBlue?
Zepp, the JetBlue attendant, walked to Ms. Riley's seating area in the 25th row, he witnessed her making up and down movements with her head while she was face down in Mr. Arnold's lap. Folks,
There was a bee got on the plane. It stung him, and she thought the only way to save him was to suck the venom out.
they were arrested upon arrival in Sarasota. The duo, who lived in Danbury, Connecticut, were booked into county jail, from which they were freed Monday. Prosecutors agreed to the couple's release on their own recognizance while they investigate jurisdiction. Recent Hollywood deaths. All right, recent
Yeah,
celebrity
we seem to
deaths.
be losing a lot of them.
Yeah, we do. First of all, obviously you have Hulk Hogan and you have Ozzy, but you also have Connie Francis, right? Who was a singer.
Yeah, there was also I forget. There was also somebody else who died as well.
Well, you had
Same day as Ozzy.
the Cosby Show star Malcolm Jamal Warner, dead at 53. He died of drowning in Costa Rica. He got swept out in a tide.
It
All
was
right.
a hat.
And then of course you have Chuck Mangione, right, as well as Hulk Hogan. Now let's talk about some people here. First of all, I'm like a lot of people who look at Ozzy Osbourne and go,
Well, apparently Ozzy
"Yeah,
was
I'm surprised you didn't die much sooner."
no, well, Ozzy. I know somebody who's a spiritualist, and apparently they've been in contact, and Ozzy was so stoned he still doesn't realize he's dead.
That's very possible. I think
Karen, why are you ignoring me?
I think that's possible, a possible issue. All right. I got asked a question about Hulk Hogan and why he was such an icon. Hulk Hogan with the WWF, which became the WWE, rev, became took wrestling into the prime time, and the amount of money that they had made just skyrocketed, and that's why
Yeah, I mean,
Hulk Hogan
look at his
is
personality.
such a thing. Huh? Go ahead.
No, that's not why Hulk Hogan is such an icon. Hulk Hogan is such an icon because of his personality. That guy, he could have gone into paint drying videos and they would have become an international sensation.
I would agree. that his personality had a lot to do with that as well. But a lot of the old wrestlers,
He was a showman.
right? A lot of the wrestlers, appreciated the fact that that Hulk Hogan, as the great star for a long time, all right, rocketed the amount of money that they were able to get. Before then,
Yep.
they were just getting by, right? After Hulk Hogan, they were making millions. They were celebrities. They weren't the kind of celebrities that
Superstars.
yeah. So, and then of course you have Chuck Mangione, which everyone remembers his horn. For those who follow music, now I personally, liked some of his songs, but I was not a huge fan because I'm not a huge fan of jazz, right? But I did know who he was, right? And he is another person who lived to a ripe old age. He lived to 84, all right. So this is the age, all right, where people are dying in it's unfortunate, you know. Hulk Hogan was 71, Mangione was 84, right, and Ozzy was 70, 76, I believe. Yep,
Yeah.
76.
Matt said he did it all before The Rock. He did, but let's be honest. Hulk Hogan could not act. He was a terrible actor. He was
Now,
a brilliant showman, but he was a terrible actor.
yeah, um, Anne Burrell. All right, at the dead. I don't know anything about Anne Burrell, who that person is.
Who?
All right. Anne Burrell.
She looks like a weird cross between Joan Rivers and Hillary Clinton.
Apparently, she was a star on the Food Network. Right.
Yeah.
Just put it out there. Let's go on to the next story, shall we?
Yeah, right. Can we have a minute's silence for Hulk and Ozzy?
That's enough. But yes, not quite a minute. We'll do 30 seconds.
It's long enough.
Trump seeks to make it easier for people with mental illness to be involuntarily committed. Hooray!
Yeah, they're coming for you, MC.
That's okay.
That's actually not a good thing.
No, it's actually a very good thing
because it's a great way for governments to lock up political opponents.
I understand your fear, but in the United States, there's too many people wandering around that you can't keep in jail when they're insane and they need to be.
That's true everywhere.
Yeah, and it's becoming worse, right? Trump wants to
Just
make
look
it
at
easier
Congress.
to good point. You have a point, okay? Make it easier to involuntarily treat people with serious mental illnesses, and I wouldn't mind taking a few congressmen here as part of that. All right, as part of a bid to end homelessness across the United States, according to a new order signed on Thursday. The administration wants to expand.
Most of the homeless are not mentally disturbed; they're financially disturbed.
No,
there's a difference.
No,
a huge,
not in the United
huge
States.
Difference.
Not in the United States. Okay, I don't know about other people, but the vast majority of people in the United States, all right, that are homeless, truly homeless, that you see on the street as panhandlers, have drug and mental addictions, or they have mental issues and drug addictions. All right, they are not just homeless because they don't have money. I'm not saying that there aren't people that are like that, because there are, but the vast majority are not. And they're overwhelming a lot of these systems that are designed for exactly what you said. People that were just, out of luck and just
yeah,
the downturn of this. So in order to get to those people, you gotta remove this.
There are also the other group of homeless people as well, which is probably far more common in the United States. People who just don't want a home, who can make a living, they move from town to town and do odd jobs here and there, make enough money to get by.
There are hobos.
Move on.
There are hobos. That's very true, but that's a separate issue in and of itself. All right. The order also directs several agencies, including DHS or DHHS, all right, to audit grant recipients to ensure no money flows to organizations that promote policies that clash with the administration's stated values. Ding, 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 ding. While some studies have found that involuntary commitments are already increasing, the practice would grow dramatically if the changes laid out in the order come to pass. The effort is the latest push by the administration to move unhoused people off the street and into private psychiatric hospitals and facilities. Critics say the campaign is aimed at moving unhoused people outside of the public eye by removing vagrant criminals from our streets and redirecting resources toward substance abuse programs. The Trump administration will ensure that Americans feel safe in their communities and that individuals suffering from addiction or mental health struggles are able to get the help they need. This is a major plus in America. Okay? It's a necessary plus. It really is. Because this is the vast majority of the people who are on that are homeless. These people, a lot of these are criminal vagrants. Okay, they're not just people out of luck.
Well, that's because TC keeps going around and stealing all their shit.
I don't think TC is stealing any other stuff.
He is. He steals all their shit. They've got nothing to get high on, so they go out and commit crimes.
Oh my goodness. And another degenerate.
Oh my god! That looks like Topher Grace off that 70s show.
You know this had to happen. This is a Florida man story. In the Florida version of a golden shower, a New York advertising executive was arrested early Saturday for allegedly urinating from a rooftop bar onto several victims below. Matthew Day, 30, was busted for disorderly conduct following an 1:30 a.m. incident in Landing, a downtown St. Petersburg night spot that described itself as an elevated hangout balcony bar. Cops charged that Day entered the rooftop bar, pulled out his penis out of his shorts, and urinated from the balcony onto the sidewalk below. Several passerbys were struck with urine. Security spotted Day relieving himself and escorted the defendant out of the bar into police custody.
Escorting, not escorting.
Well, escorted. That's what I said. Escorted.
No, you said escorting.
No, I said extort. Anyway, he was given over to the police. All right. Seen above, Day was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct on the premises of a licensed establishment, a misdemeanor. He was released from county jail on $500 bond.
Don't tell me he was released from county jail and told the week go wee all the way home.
All right. Now, I hate to say this, but the ad agency the ad agency that this guy works for, right, might be looking for a new person, except for the fact that he's the co-founder of Ribeye Media and the firm's head of client success, according to LinkedIn. So if he's a co-founder and he's the boss, basically, then he's got a problem. Although anybody in Ribeye Media, this is not the attention you need. Go ahead.
Nomad, he's in advertising, and there's an old saying in advertising: there's no such thing as bad publicity. They've got the kind of spin in advertising. They could turn this round and make billions off it.
Perhaps. Final story of the day.
Oh.
Cat dubbed Leonardo da Vinci, all right, is stealing neighborhoods' underwear. A New Zealand cat named Leo earned the nickname Leonardo da Vinci after he was shown to be a literal cat burglar with a penchant for stealing underwear. Owner Helen North said Leo, a 14-month-old Taiwanese, all right, has brought home about 150 pilfered items in the past 9 months. So she's the fence.
Just been reincarnated.
She's the fence. All right. He brings home a lot of things. He doesn't do much with them once they are inside. He dumps them on the floor and then goes about his business, stealing more.
It's Mad Dodge. He's been reincarnated.
North said that Leo's favorite items include underwear and socks, but he isn't too picky. A really expensive jersey with tags still on, stuffed toys, loads of underplants and socks, gardening gloves, activewear, hats, sport bras, alright, shorts, East Coast Bays rugby socks, and all black jersey. Alright, everything really, she told Stuff CONZ. Alright. Underwear cat thief. She said the largest thing that Leo has brought home was a 5-foot stuffed snake.
How?
It's a great question. Somebody might want to find out that just how she trained this cat to steal things. What do you mean he? The owner, Helen North, is a he?
No, but you said how she steals things. It's the
No,
cat.
how
is a
she,
he.
I said how she trained the cat to steal things.
I told you. It's Mad Dodge. He's been reincarnated.
It's possible. It's possible. Okay, everybody, that's all I've got for the day. I hope that you all had a good time. And that everything's working out for you. What?
Yeah, it's over. We're done.
We're done. We're done for
Go.
the day.
Go on,
all right,
shut
everybody.
off.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.